fresh on the scene. Back out 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 fresh on the scene.
Back out fresh on the scene.
Back out fresh on the scene.
It's just so common. It blows my mind how often this happens, where you spar with somebody and you kind of assume that you're on the same page, and then you understand, how hard to hit, how hard not to hit, and you just have two differing ideas of what that is. Or the person that's sparring is inexperienced, or they have a very low awareness level about how hard they're hitting, how fast they're moving, their intensity level. Like they think that they're being gentle because, I can punch way harder than that. So they think because they're punching less hard, then they think that they can punch, that means that they're going light or something like that. And so I came up with this sort of level system. It's just something I made up for me and my guys here. And if you want to use it, that's fine. If you have anything you want to add to it, that's fine. But just to help kind of clarify what we mean by these different terms. What does touch sparring mean? Touch sparring, which is the subtle art of not being a dick, right? Can you punch someone in the face and in the body gently without hurting them, and without just going too hard? It boggles my mind. It really does. That people have the average person coming into a gym has such a low awareness level about how it feels to be punched and how it feels for someone else to be punched by them. They have zero experience with it. So you kind of have to adjust your expectations, right? Because my expectations are wrong, obviously, because I've been doing this for years and years. And continuously, this is always a problem. It's always an issue if you're not vigilant and you don't spoon feed to everyone exactly what light sparring means and exactly what touch sparring means and exactly what hard sparring means, so that you're on the same page and you have the same framework. That way, when a person does get cracked, which is bound to happen if you spar long enough with someone or with different people, you have a precedent, right? You understand that, the previous 12 times we sparred, he didn't hit me that hard. So I have good reason to believe, I have enough trust in this person to believe that they didn't actually hit me that hard on purpose. Shit happens. I want them to hit me hard. I want to be pressure tested, right? I don't want them to baby me. That's not helping me. That's not helping them if I baby them. But at the same time, you have to find that balance between going too soft to where it's not realistic versus going so hard that you're risking injuring someone or pissing someone off, or all the things that always happen again and again with sparring, with boxing, with kickboxing, MMA, whatever. If you can't spar without hurting someone, without going hard, then in my opinion, you can't fight. You might be able to punch someone hard, you might be able to win a fight in that sense, but you're not a controlled fighter. Like you do not have control over your mind, because as soon as you get triggered, you go hard, and you do not have control over your body because you don't even know how hard you're punching someone and how that affects them. What kind of idiot doesn't know that that's going to hurt someone? Yeah. Apparently, a lot of people are idiots, because that's why I feel like I have to make this video. It's because again and again, time after time, it seems like there's this miscommunication. It's just this constant misunderstanding about how to go from gentle touch spar up to like a moderate level of sparring where you're actually competing and getting some work in without going into the red and getting mad and going too hard because you're not in control of your mind and your body because you don't know how to fight. Today I kind of want to talk about sparring etiquette and different intensity levels of sparring, and the way that I like to break this down in my mind, and to hopefully share this kind of model with the people that I'm sparring with, so that we're always on the same page and we're building trust with each other. You have to build trust with your sparring partner, because at any given time somebody could turn up on you and clock you. And so you don't want to spar with those people, obviously, for obvious reasons. That's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid somebody going too hard or too soft, because if you're going too soft, you're not really pressure testing your opponent. You're not really giving them work, and they're not able to get an honest experience out of their training. On the other hand, we're walking this tightrope. On the other side is you're throwing too hard, you're giving people microconcussions, you're consistently causing problems with going too hard with somebody who's either smaller than you, at a lower technique level than you, or just simply doesn't want to go that hard, right? Not all of us are training to compete. A lot of us are training for fitness, for all kinds of reasons, right? So I came up with, I used to call it movement sparring, but I decided to remove the word spar from the term because spar means something different, right? Spar implies contact, right? Generally speaking. So to keep things clear, the initial thing I like to get people started with before we start making contact is what I used to call movement spar. But we're going to change the name to movement / dance drill. It's kind of like the capoeira jenge thing they do when they're doing their version of sparring, where they're not making contact, they're just kind of like shadow boxing each other, moving around each other, moving dynamically, working on their techniques without making contact. And so for boxing or kickboxing, I've kind of come up with a similar thing where we're actually exaggerating our movements. That's why I call it dance, because you want to get a workout. You got 3 minutes, you're trying to sweat, you're trying to get as much movement in as you can, more so than you would actually do in a fight, because we're not fighting, we're building movement skills, all right? We're working on our head movement, we're working on our footwork, okay? And we're not really, you might throw a punch, an obvious punch out there so that he or she can work on their head work on their head movement, and work on how they're going to react to your movement. And so we just do footwork and head movement and punches that don't connect, kicks that don't connect, right? And this gives, especially new people, a chance to work on what they're going to do and how they're going to react to their opponent without having to worry about getting clocked. Because when a new person is scared to get punched, we all know what they do. They kind of freeze up, and everything that they've learned about movement and technique goes out the window. So I created this as kind of an intro to sparring, where we're not sparring. We're doing a dance movement drill to get cardio work in, to work on our footwork, to work on our head movement, and to just get comfortable with all the various ways you have to move as a fighter that are different from how we move in our day-to-day life. So this is no touch, I would say. It's gentle, it's cooperative, right? No touch. Or very minimal touching, right? Like I might punch his gloves a little bit, or it's a contact sport, so we're going to make contact, right? That's okay. The point is, this is a safe space. This is like sparring safe space here, right? You can do this and have a very, very low probability of anyone getting hurt. Once you've kind of gotten used to movement a little bit and you're ready to experience being touched to the face with the glove, being touched to the body a little bit, that's when we move to what I call touch sparring. So this is level 1, touch sparring. In touch sparring, okay, kind of similar to this, we're minimizing the chance of someone being damaged. So when I'm touch sparring someone, I'm not touching them like that. I'm touching them like pump, pump. I'm finding my range. I'm moving fast enough, if I'm good, to be able to score the point, to be able to get through their guard. But it's in a controlled way, and it's slow enough that if I do make contact, or if they zig when they should zag, my fist connects with their nose or something, we're not likely to wind up with a broken nose because I'm pulling my punches, right? I'm going maybe like 20% of what I can do power-wise, less than that. Right? I'm just trying to touch. Just touch. And I'm not doing anything, I'm not like starting at one speed, then all of a sudden going, whoa, and doing anything sudden and sporadic, right? Because still at this level, we're still building trust with our partner, okay? So, all right, build trust. Because if you've never sparred with a person, you really don't know what they're going to do. You might touch them a little bit, and then that thing happens where they just see red, bro, and they switch the flip, and the switch flips in their brain, and all of a sudden, okay, now we're going hard. You hit me hard, so I'm going to this tit for tat kind of bullshit, right? That's not touch sparring. That's not building trust. That is not conducive to cultivating a good relationship with your sparring partners. That's stupid. That's the reason why martial arts people have to train, is to deal with that mindset. That mindset where, oh, you offended me somehow, so now I'm going to come over the top and go harder. Whenever I'm level 1 sparring with someone and they hit me harder, we're down here, harder than what I thought we had agreed to, I don't then turn up on the person because they hit me hard. If anything, I usually slow down and get more defensive to show them that I'm cooling it off, right? It's your responsibility to control your opponent and to make sure that they are sticking to the agreement. What did we agree to do? Did we agree to movement, spar, drill, or did we agree to spar where we're touching? Or are we agreeing to something that would be like level 2? What I'll call level 2. This is, in my mind, we're still touch sparring here. We're just increasing the pace, right? So first round, maybe we just do dance drill to warm up. Second round, we're touching, gentle, somewhat cooperative. And then after that second round of we're touching and we're feeling comfortable and we've built some trust, I know he's not going to turn up on me unreasonably. I'm not going to turn up on him. We have a good rapport. Then for our third round, say, okay, let's pick it up a little bit. So for level 2, we're kind of graduating to punching each other in the face a little bit more. Maybe when we do go to the body, instead of touching, we're doing a little conditioning and making them work a little bit. But to the face, we're still being controlled. If I'm throwing an overhand, any level 1 or level 2, I'm not throwing like a Randy Couture, Hendo bomb, like with my arms straight and no control with 16-ounce gloves coming down on somebody. I'm throwing a control, my arm stops here, my body's momentum stops here, and then boop, I'm just doing a little curl, just a little boop, boop, so I can hit someone with an overhand without micro-concussing them when we're just trying to light spar. So I would call level 2 light spar. You agree. Anytime I'm rolling jiu-jitsu with someone or sparring with someone, I see that slap bump or that touch gloves as that is the signing of a contract of whatever we agreed to do, the type of sparring and intensity level that we agreed to. It doesn't mean you have to write a big contract just to spar somebody, but it means intuitively, at least, you have a mutual understanding that this is what we're doing. We're starting light, and then as we progress, we start with just touching, then we progress to light spar, which is, we're starting to get more competitive. Okay, we're starting to move more dynamically. More competitive. Oops. Less cooperative, more competitive as we move down. We're actually trying to score points. We're actually trying to make him work, put a little pressure on him or her. And that's what light sparring is, but we're not getting to the level where we're still avoiding micro-concussions, right? We're still avoiding bloodying each other, all right? It's still fairly gentle. We're at 50%. for a light spar, 50% intensity. So if this is, 80%, 50% is gonna look like boom. And I'm still pulling my punches. I'm still just trying to touch, but I'm doing it more realistically and more competitively, okay? So if we've agreed to touch spar, and we're here, we're in touch spar zone, and we're just touching, we're not into the competitive realm yet, we're just working on technique and movement and building trust, and my opponent suddenly dips down into level 2 or level 3 intensity. And I don't know this guy, right? I don't know this guy. And he's kind of being sporadic, being unpredictable, being more dynamic and more of a threat than the level that I thought that we were sparring at, right? So I'll see guys dip down and suddenly turn up. And that's, if I'm watching sort of as a coach, or if I'm hosting a class or whatever, I kind of see that as a flag. If I'm watching, I might say something like, hey, ease up. Just to make sure we're on the same page of what level we're supposed to be sparring at. So level 3, logically, if we're at 50% intensity here, level 3, maybe we're just a little bit more. A little bit more intensity, right? Maybe 60, 75%. And then I would say level 4, when we get to level 4, that's probably what I would call hard sparring. This is where you get black eyes from this. You get bloody nose. You might get a bruised rib when you're hard sparring. That might happen at level 3 too, but we're avoiding that. We're gradually picking up the pace with each round until you don't want to go anymore. And when you don't want to go anymore, in the middle of the round, what do? Pop quiz. What do we do when we want the sparring to stop? We take a knee. We continue protecting ourselves. We're always protecting ourselves, but we take a knee. And that signals to your opponent, the round is over. It's time to stop. If someone doesn't respect someone taking a knee, then they shouldn't be sparring. They have no business sparring. All right, so many guys, so many people come to a gym and just have no understanding, no idea of what they just think. It's either they're just like playing and not touching, or they turn it to 100% and it's a street fight, and they don't understand this gradient. Okay? And I would say level 5, we'll say level 5 is we are not sparring. We're no longer sparring at level 5. It's a fight. It's not a spar anymore. If we get to level 5. So if you bring someone in and your trust level, you've only built trust level enough with them to maybe do movement drills and then some touch sparring, and you see them dipping down into these levels at any point in time, that's a red flag. People that can't stay here and stay in control, even if they get punched a little bit, even if they're getting frustrated or tired, even if their fight and flight mode kicks in, adrenaline kicks in, whatever. We're learning to control that. Just because you feel excited doesn't mean you can turn up. I mean, you can, but you're being a dick. You're not building trust, right? It's bad etiquette. It's just not being a good person, right? Because you might be sparring someone that could absolutely whoop the shit out of you. And you're turning up on them and doing things that could hurt them and risking their health when they're being awfully nice to you. Like, they're being safe. They're respecting your boundaries. They're respecting the agreement that we agreed to before the spar, how hard we're going to go. And they're breaking that contract, and a real martial artist will just keep it here. we'll turn back. Or even if they can whoop the guy, they're going to just take a knee. No, this is not what I agreed to. It doesn't mean you lost. It doesn't mean you're a bitch. Okay? It means you're being more mature. It means you're controlling the situation and not allowing someone to walk all over you into intensity levels that you did not agree to, that you do not want to put your brain or body at risk for, because this is what we agreed to. So if you're suddenly dipping down, or it appears like you're dipping down, that's a red flag. So I don't really start getting fancy and experimental. It's okay to get fancy and experimental when you're not touching, right? We're doing no touch. That's a good time to get experimental and work on ninja stuff, right? But we're not doing that here because we're touching. So we're using fundamentals. We're using control. We're being considerate. We're not being sporadic. We're not trying to surprise them with a flying knee. You can experiment more when you're not touching. Once the touching starts, it's minimal experiment, a little bit more experiment, maybe 50%, 60%, etc. And it goes all the way up until you're at, I just see red bro, level 5, where you think that you can beat someone up, but really you would just be gassed in 30 seconds. And they got something to prove, right? Everybody's got something to prove, and they're not comfortable being here. It's like, well, I can sucker punch you, or I can do stuff. Well, yeah, the guy that you're sparring with could probably do a lot of things too that would do damage to you, but he's not going to because he's not a piece of shit. Okay? The people that can't control this level are the reasons why martial artists have to train. Because that's a symptom that when we're out there, when I catch you outside, or there's something happening in the street or in the real world situation, those people that can't control this are the reasons why we have to train martial arts, because other martial artists, other Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts just aren't getting into bar fights. They just don't. They avoid it, they diffuse it. Right? The people getting into bar fights are the ones that think that they can fight, but they really can't. So, how many street fights you've been in almost directly correlates with how because what are you doing to get into these street fights, right? So, I hope that this is helpful. That this is like an age-old thing. Everybody that comes and spars, you never know. I can usually just kind of look at a person and just kind of tell if I want to spar with them or not. And it's always a test for me to say, when we're touch sparring and someone starts turning up on me, just to be defensive and to be the controlled martial artist and not turn up, right? To not turn up higher than what I agreed to turn up when we touch gloves. I hope that helps. Like and subscribe to my channel, brand new channel. Just hit like 60 followers. So I really appreciate y'all watching, and I hope that it helps. And if there's something I said you think is bullshit, or something I said that you liked, feel free to go down in the comments and state your piece. Say whatever you want to say. It's fine. Y'all have a good day.